What's up, guys? So today we're doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be talking about a conversation topic that has come up kind of a lot in my stream, and I want to give my general thoughts on sort of where I feel like Dragon Ball FighterZ is right now in terms of balance and some certain issues and maybe future solutions that I would like to see for the game. So what is spurring all of this into discussion is basically SonicFox posted a tier list the other day on Twitter. I'm going to be showing it right here. And basically, there's kind of one thing that has people talking about this tier list, and I think is the reason why everyone's asking me about it, which is that he put the boy Base Vegeta in S tier. And I think a lot of people were just immediately like, this is stupid. A lot of people think Base Vegeta is a subpar character, not that good, or at least nothing special. And here he goes putting him top 4 in the game, better than Teen Gohan, almost as good as Bardock. What is he thinking? So first of all, do I think that Base Vegeta is this good? Not yet, but I think the potential is there that it could turn out to be the case, right? A big thing about this game is I think a lot of characters are underexplored, and I think Base Vegeta is one of them. So I definitely don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility that someone blows up a tournament with Base Vegeta, and then all of a sudden we're all talking about how we knew the whole time that Base Vegeta was broken. We knew the whole time, and no one was saying it. So I think it's possible, but more importantly, I think it's possible for most characters in this game to be pretty good. I think something that people are kind of underestimating about this game is that it's extremely balanced. I say this all the time. I think Dragon Ball FighterZ is one of the most balanced fighting games maybe ever made. And there's a few reasons for this. I would say the primary reason is that characters are just so similar. Like, every character has a low 2M and an overhead 6M. Every character can air dash. Every character can double jump. Pretty much every character has ki blasts, although there are some exceptions. But most characters have some kind of projectile option. Everyone can super dash. Everyone can vanish. Everyone has a throw they can combo off of. Like, there are so many shared mechanics that, of course, the game is going to be balanced because at least like half of your character's kit is the same across all characters. So I do think the game is extremely balanced, and even characters like Krillin, I think, are still very good. Krillin might be the worst character in the game, but he's still strong. He still has a ridiculous beam. He still has some pretty crazy normals. His 2M is ridiculous. His 5M is definitely ridiculous. This reminds me of like a tweet that Lord Knight tweeted the other day. He said, anyone who can look at a Dragon Ball FighterZ character and say that they are trash has definitely never seen a bad fighting game character before. And I kind of agree. Like, there are no trash characters in this game. Not even close. And I think we're seeing sort of the results of that in some tournaments. Characters that were considered not that good or trash, like Base Goku, Wawa blowing up tournaments with Base Goku, Broly, everyone considered this character not that good for a long time, but now he's considered one of the best in the game. Just because all it really takes is people going out and exploring what they're capable of and showing that, yeah, every character in this game has some dirt. Some characters have more than others. So that's the first point I want to make, is that to me, it's kind of beyond argument that this game is extremely balanced and that even the worst characters are very strong. But the contrast to that is that there is a lot of stagnant team building, especially in like tournament top 8s. So like if we look at the first attack tournament that just happened last weekend, that was a pretty big tournament, and if we look at the top 8, there's a lot of repeated characters, right? Over half the teams in top 8 have GT Goku on them. Approximately half the teams have Teen Gohan. And furthermore, over 50% of the characters in top 8 are top 5. So if we take the top 5 characters in the game, they make up over 50% of the characters that made top 8. So how do we rectify these two facts, that the game is extremely balanced and even the worst character in the game, Krillin, is viable? How do we rectify that with the top 8s of most tournaments are made up of a lot of the same characters, and certain characters make up a vast majority of tournament teams? So there's a few reasons for this, I think. I think it's definitely a hard problem to answer. When I was thinking about making this video, something that came to mind was something that Mark Rosewater said about people sort of playing games and their ability to identify problems.
So my metaphor here is a doctor appointment. What does a doctor always do first? They ask how you're feeling, because you know better than the doctor how you're feeling. But the doctor doesn't often ask you how to solve the problem, because they're better equipped than you to do that. Same is true in game design. Your players have a better understanding of how they feel about your game. You're trying to create an emotional response? Well, they know what that is. They can tell easier when something is wrong, and they're excellent at identifying problems. But they're not as equipped to solve those problems. They don't know your tools, they don't know your limitations, they don't know a lot of things they would need to know, and so they're not particularly good at solving problems. So please use your audience as a resource to discover what's wrong, but take it with a grain of salt when they offer solutions. So lesson number 19, your audience is good at recognizing problems and bad at solving them.
Okay, so basically what he's saying there is that player input is very important when it comes to identifying the issues with the game, right? And I think that this is an issue that has kind of plagued Dragon Ball FighterZ since day one. It's just that we're tired of seeing Bardock on every team. At this point, we're tired of seeing GT Goku on every team. Whichever character it is, it changes over time, but it comes down to it that generally the top tiers are extremely well represented in tournaments, and the low tiers, it's very, very rare to see them. So what's the solution for this? I know he said to take their advice with a grain of salt, which I do agree with. I think a lot of people are quick to jump to sort of band-aid fixes, like give Krillin a beam assist and all of a sudden he'll be good. Like, that's kind of a band-aid fix that doesn't fix the underlying problem with why are certain characters really heavily played and certain characters never see play. So I kind of have 3 things that I think I would like to see changed that I think would help fix this problem, and I'm going to run through them right now. So if there is sort of a new updated version of Dragon Ball FighterZ, to me, I think these are the 3 biggest changes that I think would make a massive difference. So the first solution I want to talk about here is decentralizing power away from universal mechanics. So even though I mentioned this as being one of the reasons why the game is so balanced, is that every character has Super Dash, every character has Raw Tag, every character has Snap Back and Vanish and all these ridiculously powerful mechanics. Like, honestly, I think every character's best move is probably Super Dash and Raw Tag. I think those are most characters' 2 best moves. So even though that does sort of lead to the game being more balanced because everybody has access to the same powerful mechanics, it also leads to sort of the dilemma of if you're playing to win and you think you have an actual real chance to win a tournament, why would you not just pick the best characters? Because sure, there are a lot of differences between characters, but less than most games. The fact that these universal mechanics are so strong makes it easier to switch characters than in most games. So you can just learn the top tiers without too much trouble if you're a top player. And why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you just play the best characters if you want a serious chance at winning a tournament? It really makes the most sense. So I think that if they make these mechanics less powerful and they sort of put more power in the individual strengths and weaknesses of the characters so that you're relying more on your special moves, you're relying more on maybe new options that they could give them to make them more unique, then I think that would lead to a decrease in people congregating to the same characters and an increase of people playing the characters that they prefer or playing characters that deal well with specific matchups. This game is not that matchup oriented compared to a lot of other games. Because every character plays so similarly, you kind of just run the same game plan in every matchup, with a few exceptions like Frieza or Broly. They play pretty different than usual, but for the most part, you just run the same game plan in every matchup. But I think making the characters more differentiated and less reliant on universal mechanics would lead to an increase in matchup variety, meaning that you could have certain characters that take advantage of certain matchups well and lead to more sort of counter-picking and more interesting team composition that is designed to sort of take advantage of certain metas, as opposed to just picking the 3 strongest characters that work well together and calling it a day. So that's the first thing that I want, is move some of the power of a character away from the universal mechanics and into character-specific mechanics. That's number 1. Number 2 is kind of similar. I think that characters need to be fleshed out. Characters are a little bit too simple in this game, which again, this is like the first game in a series, you know. The original Street Fighter 2, of course, the characters were really simple as well, but then more and more mechanics got added as new games came out. But that's not happening that much with this game. I know it hasn't even been out for 2 years yet, but even though they're releasing balance patches and new characters, they're not really increasing the complexity of the rest of the roster, which I think is something that it needs to happen. Characters don't have enough moves. A lot of characters only have like 3 special moves and 2 supers. And a lot of characters, everything is like universal, right? So 6M is universal. Every character has like auto combos. Every character has, you know, down medium that hits low. All these similar things. Every character's launcher is the same. I'm not saying that all this needs to change, but I'm saying that some of it does. Like, every character plays so similar that I think this is one of the reasons why people gravitate to the top tiers. Because if every character plays a lot alike, why not just play the best characters? It's not like it's going to take a long time to completely learn them from scratch. So many of the mechanics are shared across them, so you may as well just pick the best characters. So I think that if they increase character complexity, that will increase the barrier to sort of learning a character. You're going to have to spend a lot more time to learn and become good with a character, which I think in the end will kind of indirectly lead to more character loyalty. People will not just switch to the flavor of the month because it's going to be harder to learn them. So this isn't something that can just happen overnight, but I would like to see this changed. Increased character complexity, I think, would lead a little bit more to sort of people playing who they prefer or who they feel like they know the best, as opposed to just playing the best characters. And then the third thing here, I feel like this has kind of been, said to death already, but I'm going to say it too. We need the difference between the good assists and the bad assists needs to be reduced, okay? There's like maybe like 7 or 8 assists that are really, really amazing, and you see those characters on every single team. So like GT Goku, Super Saiyan Goku, Yamcha, Kid Buu. These characters are just on every single team. Gotenks is kind of another one because their assists are so incredibly good that you just have to run them if you really want a chance. Whereas characters like Krillin, his assist is just pure trash. So I think that team building is pretty restricted by assists. There's a lot of characters that the reason they don't see play is because their assist is not that good and they're not broken enough as a point character to justify it. So ironically, I feel like base Vegeta is one of these, right? Like his assist is certainly decent. It's not bad. I don't hate his assist. I would give it maybe like a 5 or 6 out of 10. But that's not really good enough for him to see play on that many teams on the strength of his assist. And as a point character, I do think he's quite good. But he's not Bardock good. He's not Team Gohan good. And again, I'm open to the possibility that I'll be proven wrong on this. But he's not good enough as a point character to see significant play in that slot when you could just play Bardock or Team Gohan or whoever that's really broken. And so he's not good enough on point. His assist isn't good enough, so he just doesn't see play. So I think that make the worst assist better, or better yet, give us selectable assists like Marvel vs. Capcom, where, you know, the potential for team building would be greatly diversified. All of a sudden, if every character had 3 assists to choose from, you could do some more interesting team construction, and you wouldn't have situations like Krillin, where like most people feel like they can't really play this character, because if he's not out on point, he's just an empty slot on the team. His assist does basically nothing. It's completely worthless, and you never see the character played. To a lesser extent, characters like Android 18, I think, also suffer from this. Her assist is not bad, don't get me wrong, but it's extremely situational. Which means that a lot of times people only want to play her on point, and the point slot is very crowded because characters like Teen Gohan, Adult Gohan, Bardock, these guys are just ridiculous. Why would you not play them? So I think selectable assists would be amazing, or some kind of shift to the assist system to maybe make a little bit more variety so you're not just seeing the same 5 or 6 assists over and over and over. That would be my suggestion. So just to reiterate, the 3 things that I think would really help make this game better is concentrate less of the power of a character in universal mechanics. It makes the characters too samey, and it makes people more likely to just pick the best characters, because if everyone plays the same, why not just pick the best characters? Second, I think added character complexity would be very important. Adding complexity to the characters makes it harder to learn new characters, harder to switch, and more rewarding to spend a lot of time investing in your main. So I think this would lead to less sort of flavor of the month. Everyone jumps on GT Goku because he's broken, that kind of thing. I think that would be a good move. And then third, either add more assists, let us select assists, or somehow balance the power of assists so that there aren't just a handful of characters with the broken assists and then everyone else kind of has trash assists that don't matter. So those are my 3 solutions, but I want to hear what you guys think as well. First of all, do you think that there is a balance issue in Dragon Ball FighterZ? I want to hear about it. And if you do or if you don't, what would you like to see changed? Assuming that we're going to get a new version of the game or maybe some balance patches in the future, what kind of changes do you want to see? Let me know. And that's going to be it for the video. Let me know if you enjoyed this more sort of talky format. A little less gameplay, a little more dialogue. I hope you guys enjoyed it anyway, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.